Please note that the content of this video may contain errors. If you would like to view subtitles, please click the subtitle button at the bottom right of the screen. Now, let's begin our topic, the life of Taisuke Itagaki. What kind of man was Taisuke Itagaki, who contributed greatly to Japan's modernization? Let's follow his turbulent life together. Japan in the mid-19th century, a period known as the end of the Edo period, was experiencing a period of great upheaval. At the time, the Edo shogunate ruled for approximately 260 years, and the country maintained a semblance of peace. However, Japan faced significant pressure from outside. In particular, the arrival of the American black ships commanded by Commodore Perry in Uraga in 1853 forced Japan to open its borders. At this time, the isolationist policy that rejected trade with other countries began to open up. As a result, Japan signed the Treaty of Peace and Amity between Japan and the United States in 1854. The shogunate was also forced to reevaluate its relations with foreign powers. From this time on, the shogunate's authority gradually began to waver, and patriots calling for the expulsion of foreigners and the overthrow of the shogunate began to take action. The shogunate adopted a policy of excluding foreigners, but at the same time succumbed to pressure to open the ports. Domestic disapproval spread. In 1860, the assassination of Chief Minister Ieyasu in the Sakuradaman incident exposed the shogunate's control. Then, powerful domains, including Shimozu Hisamitsu of the Satsuma domain and Mori Takachika of the Choshu domain, each with their own positions and intentions, launched a movement to overthrow the shogunate. In particular, the Satsuma and Choshu clans formed the Satsuma-Choshu alliance, aiming to weaken the shogunate. They strengthened their military by studying Western military technology and procuring the latest weapons. The Satsuma domain maintained close ties with Britain, while the Choshu domain similarly established ties with France and other countries, strengthening its military. As domestic discontent and external pressure intertwined, Japan entered a major period of change. The provincial anti-shogunate movement, fueled by the anxiety and dissatisfaction of the people amid this tense international situation, gradually spread throughout the country. The fervor of this movement would later materialize in the form of the Meiji Restoration, heralding the dawn of a new era. Itagaki Taisuke was born into a samurai family in the Tosa domain in 1837. His father was a samurai named Itagaki Masakata, and as the son of a samurai family, he was expected to fulfill his role from an early age. The Tosa domain, like much of Japan at the time, was under the centralized political system of the shogunate. Each domain exercised limited autonomy. In the era in which Itagaki was born, control within the domain was strict and meritocracy was required, while the class system was also firmly in place. The responsibilities and rights of the samurai class were strictly defined. From a young age, Itagaki Taisuke devoted himself to academics and martial arts training. One of the foundations of his education was Neo-Confucianism, which he learned at the domain school. During this period, Neo-Confucianism held an important position in the Japanese education system. Itagaki was widely adopted for the purpose of fostering ethics and loyalty. However, Itagaki also became interested in another school of thought known as Yanmingism. Yanmingism was practically oriented and emphasized more individual, active practice. This philosophy would later become an important factor in influencing his political activities. In his youth, Itagaki was passionate about martial arts, particularly swordsmanship. This would later become the foundation for his leadership and drive. His swordsmanship teacher was a master named Shinmen Muni, a renowned figure in the world of swordsmanship at the time. Shinmen's teachings not only taught him fighting techniques, but also included mental training and the samurai code of conduct. He had a profound influence on Itagaki. Meanwhile, during his formative years, pressure to open the country following the arrival of the black ships and domestic anti-foreigner sentiment were on the rise. He had many opportunities to reflect on the state of the nation. Considering how to rebuild the Tosa domain amid the financial and political challenges it faced. For the young Itagaki, this intricate interplay of his education within the Tosa domain and the surrounding political situation would later shape him into a leading figure in the Meiji Restoration, and even a leader in the freedom and people's rights movement. As Itagaki's interest in politics deepened, he joined the Sano-Joi movement. Sano-Joi revere the emperor, expel the barbarians is, simply put, the idea of honoring the emperor and eliminating foreign powers. The spread of this idea stemmed from domestic backlash against foreign pressure that had been introduced as a result of Japan's opening to the world. At the time, a sense of crisis permeated Japan after Commodore Perry's arrival forced the shogunate to open its doors to the world. Especially during the final years of the Edo period, Western technology and ideas rapidly infiltrated the country, posing a major challenge to Japan. Itagaki, a native of the Tosa domain, became interested in politics amid these changing times. First, it's worth noting the influence of other patriots on him. Through his interactions with figures like Ryoma Sakamoto and Shoin Yoshida, he not only embraced the idea of expelling foreigners, but also expanded his horizons to include the future opening of Japan to the world and, beyond that, the democratization of Japan. He also participated in a movement within the Tosa domain to promote reform within the domain. This broke down the top-down rule of the domain lord and broke the top-down rule of the feudal lords. It was a sign of his determination to change Japan from the local level as a leader of a new era. Amid these turmoil, Itagaki also allied with patriots from the Satsuma and Choshu domains. One of the key events was the Satsuma-Choshu alliance. Leaders such as Seigo Takamoi and Okubo Toshimichi of the Satsuma domain and Kato Takeyoshi of the Choshu domain agreed to defeat their common enemy, the shogunate. However, Satsuma and Choshu had long been bitter enemies and bridging the gap was not easy. Itagaki, together with Sakamoto Ryoma, played this complex role of mediator, ultimately leading to the formation of the alliance. Here, Seigo and Okubo pledged to overcome the conflict between the Satsuma and Choshu clans and cooperate with each other. With the formation of this alliance, the path to overthrowing the shogunate and establishing a new national system centered on the emperor became clear. This would later lead to the Meiji Restoration. Throughout this process, Itagaki Taisuke acted not simply as a political tool, but also for ideals that looked to the future of Japan. He acted for ideals that looked to the future of Japan. His influence went beyond that of a mere local samurai, becoming crucial in shaping the national model. The Meiji Restoration was a period of great change and a turning point in Japanese history. Itagaki Taisuke played a crucial role here. His reputation became so well known that he was a key figure in the formation of the new government. The story begins with the Battle of Toba Fushimi, which broke out near Nagaoka-kyo City in January 1868. This battle, fought between the former shogunate forces and the new government forces, marked the beginning of the Boshin War. Itagaki joined the new government forces as a leader of the Tosa clan's pro-imperial faction. His strategy and command steered the battle in his favor. In this battle, the new government forces overwhelmed the outnumbered former shogunate forces with clever tactics and cutting-edge Western weaponry. In particular, Itagaki directed a bold operation to defend the road to Kyoto, which determined the outcome for the new government. It is said that his bold tactics were based on multiple layers of planning. However, his reputation was not established solely by victory in battle. Amid the victorious new government forces, Itagaki quickly demonstrated his political skills. He took a longer-term view than any other clan when it came to the type of nation the new administration should build. He played a central role in policy formulation. Itagaki was subsequently appointed to a succession of important positions in the new government. His goal was to create a new form of nation that would learn from Western democracy while respecting Japanese traditions. This would later become the foundation of the freedom and people's rights movement he would promote. During this period, many alternative theories circulated. Some theories alleged that he was involved in a power struggle within the new government, and there were also voices of concern about the government's actions under foreign influence. However, Itagaki's true heart was truly concerned about the future of the nation. He used the position he had gained to further his ideals. Thus, Itagaki Taisuke embarked on a brilliant career as a prominent politician in the new Meiji government. The freedom and people's rights movement, in which Itagaki Taisuke was involved, marked a significant turning point in Japanese political history. After the establishment of the Meiji government, Japan rapidly modernized. Accompanying this, calls for political participation grew louder. As if responding to these calls, in 1874, Taisuke submitted a petition for the establishment of a popularly elected parliament. This marked the beginning of a movement for a national parliament. This petition, which had a strong connotation of protest against the government, was not to be ignored by government officials. Like Itagaki, the enthusiasm of like-minded figures like Ito Shinpei and Godu Shigeru also played a key role in determining the course of the freedom and people's rights movement. It spread like a huge wave among the people, garnering public opinion. The underlying cause was dissatisfaction with the centralized political system. Influenced by Western influences, the government rushed to create a modern nation, but in the process often ignored the voices of local areas. In particular, the tyranny of prefectural governors and bureaucrats angered local people. In an effort to change this situation, local leaders strongly resonated with Itagaki's ideals. Taisuke empathized with the people raising their voices through the freedom and people's rights movement and led them. he gained even more supporters. A growing desire within him was to be freed from government control. A desire to be freed from government control grew within him. He believed that politics should be driven by the people's own voice. This belief eventually bore fruit in the Liberal Party, which he founded in 1881. As Japan's first national political party, the party promoted innovative founding ideals, attracted many intellectuals and local residents, brought a breath of fresh air into post-Meiji Restoration politics. Domestic and international circumstances also influenced the founding of the Liberal Party. Within Japan, the impoverishment of rural areas and growing discontent among the samurai class led to a growing demand for free speech and assembly. Furthermore, the influence of civil revolutions in Western countries was significant, and Itagaki and others made repeated efforts to incorporate this into their own country. Furthermore, the influence of civil revolutions in Western countries was significant, and Itagaki and his colleagues sought to incorporate this into their own country. He made repeated efforts. Thus, Itagaki Taisuke, carrying the voice of the times, continues to stand in history as a symbolic figure of the freedom and people's rights movement. As a symbolic leader of the freedom and people's rights movement, Itagaki Taisuke unwaveringly promoted Japanese democracy. One of the most symbolic incidents of this was the Itagaki Taisuke shipwreck in 1882. This incident clearly demonstrated that there were those who were obstructing his activities. Itagaki was attacked while giving a speech in Gifu City. His famous words to his attackers at this time, "Even if Itagaki dies, freedom will not die," demonstrate his unwavering beliefs. So why did Itagaki continue the freedom and people's rights movement even at the risk of extraordinary harm? Behind this was a consistent philosophy that Itagaki maintained throughout his life. His belief that the people themselves should be the protagonists of the nation. Dissatisfied with the centralization of power under the Meiji government and, particularly, the early tendency for political control by the aristocracy and former samurai class, he strongly believed that more citizens should have the right to participate in politics. The movement for the establishment of a national parliament, led by Itagaki Taisuke, was a long struggle to realize this belief. In 1880, the Eikokusha, a group formed to realize the establishment of a national parliament, attracted many supporters from across the country. Their efforts continued until the government finally issued a proclamation in 1881 promising the establishment of a national parliament. This event marked the beginning of constitutional politics in Japan, and its impact was immeasurable. Itagaki's belief in a democratic nation where the general public participates in politics, rather than being dominated by a select few, resonated with many and influenced those who followed. The ideals he advocated were not merely personal, they spread throughout Japan. It became a driving force behind the creation of many activists. The dream of democracy pursued by Itagaki Taisuke continued to be a major trend in Japanese politics even after his death. When Itagaki Taisuke retired from the political stage, Japan in the latter half of the Meiji era was facing numerous challenges. Domestically, the major challenge was how to stabilize the social turmoil caused by the rapid reforms following the Meiji Restoration. Stabilizing the system was a major challenge. Itagaki continued to exert influence and remain involved in Japanese politics throughout this period. For him, the experiences and ideals he cultivated through the freedom and people's rights movement remained important guidelines for shaping the country's future. In his later years, Itagaki focused on the maturation of parliamentary politics following the rise of the Rikken Seiyukai Party. The founding of the Seiyukai Party was the culmination of Hirobumi Ito's network of politicians. Itagaki positioned himself to support the opposing forces. He often emphasized the importance of parliament in reflecting the voice of the people. He advocated patriotism and worked hard to establish true parliamentary democracy in Japan. However, the challenge facing Japan on the international stage was how to establish a new position. At the time, Japan's foreign policy was extremely complicated due to the impact of the Sino-Japanese War and the subsequent Russo-Japanese War. In response, Itagaki advocated protecting Japan's interests while also building friendly relations with Asian countries. His pro-China stance also contributed to a later rise in awareness of international cooperation. In 1898, the Liberal Party and the Progressive Party merged to form the Constitutional Party. This merger was also heavily influenced by Itagaki. Itagaki believed that cooperation across party lines was necessary for the country's future. He held repeated discussions with multiple politicians. Around 19, his political influence gradually declined, but still, he continued to voice his opinions on domestic and international issues. And so, in 1901, Itagaki finally decided to retire. His retirement marked the end of an era, so to speak. However, his ideals and efforts continued to live on in the hearts of many politicians and citizens. The democratic ideals he pursued continued to have a profound influence on Japanese politics. Taisuke Itagaki's political ideas and actions had a profound impact on the development of Japanese democracy. The freedom and people's rights movement he pursued, while a minority movement in Japan at the time, has had a profound influence on politicians of later generations. This movement sparked the spread of progressive ideas that reflect the will of the people in politics, helped lay the foundation for the current Japanese constitution. Itagaki's influence was not limited to ideology, but also extended to concrete political reforms. He emphasized the importance of parliamentary democracy and maintained a strong belief that Japan should adopt a constitutional system. This belief was passed down to his successors, including Okuma Shigenobu and Ito Hirobumi. Eventually, it led to the establishment of the Constitution of the Empire of Japan. Although this constitution itself had its limitations, Itagaki's philosophy can be glimpsed from it. Meanwhile, Itagaki's strong influence in his hometown of Tosa cannot be overlooked. Itagaki built deep ties with local residents and worked to revitalize local politics. He established a foundation as a trusted leader in the local community. His activities reaffirmed the importance of local politics and contributed to the development of local autonomy. His commitment to giving back to his community is still felt by many people today. In addition, in his later years, Itagaki was involved in the founding of several new political organizations, promoting political diversity. The Liberal Party and the Constitutional Liberal Party, which were born through his work, laid the foundation for modern party politics. His achievements provided a platform for diverse forces to compete in Japanese politics. As a result, he promoted public political participation. Recent research has led to a re-evaluation of Itagaki's influence on Japanese society after the Meiji Restoration. His understanding of democracy and his efforts to realize it are being considered from a new perspective in modern Japan. Even in modern Japan, it is being examined from a new perspective. Itagaki Taisuke's life and ideals will continue to be an essential element in considering Japanese democracy and political culture. It will continue to be an essential element. Itagaki Taisuke's efforts to modernize Japan continue to have a profound impact on us today. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and like it.